Before I call the meeting to order, I'd like to note that we have interpretation services for this meeting. The interpreter this evening is Ms. Moreno, who's in the back of the chambers back there, with headsets for individuals wanting the service. Ms. Moreno, would you mind, when you did that, raise your hand? So I would like to call the meeting to order. The council for the August 16th, 2022. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll and make the brief announcement about accessing the meeting?
In order to participate in the City Council meeting virtually, please register to speak using the link on the agenda under public comment or call 1-669-900-9128 and use webinar ID number 89011724807. To raise your hand to speak on a particular agenda item, please use the raise hand button in the Zoom meeting portal. If you are using a phone, please press star 9 on your telephone keypad to raise your hand to speak. Press star 6 to unmute your phone. When it is your time to speak, you will be requested to unmute your microphone for the time allotted by the mayor and will be muted upon completion of your comments. Councilmember Cordero.
Here.
Councilmember Escobedo.
Here.
Councilmember Soto. Here. Councilmember Waterfield. Present. And Madam Mayor Patino.
Here. City Attorney, Mr. Watson, would you like to give the closed session report?
I'm delighted to. With respect to the evaluations of the city attorney and the city manager, the council unanimously approved the additional compensation up to 10% as set forth in the budget. And council was pleased with the actions of the executive team and the staff. We thank them for their continued support.
Thank you. The first item this evening is a retirement resolution, and Councilmember Cordero will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a retirement resolution for Mr. Sutterfield. So we'll ask you to come up here in just a minute here, but let me read your resolution here. This is resolution number 22-83. Whereas Alan Sutterfield, am I saying that right, Sutterfield? Mm-hmm. Okay. Alan Sutterfield has been a valuable member of the city team since 2006. And whereas with over 16 years of service in the city manager's office, Alan was instrumental in managing the Santa Maria Community Television. There are the public education and government, or PEG, access Comcast Channel 25, 24, and 23, and have improved the quality of life for a community of Santa Maria in a positive way. And whereas during the tenure of Alan, adopted to evolving technologies to the television production, introducing the web streaming, and I still don't understand that, and upgrading equipment to enable more efficiency in service delivery. And whereas Alan has ensured that hundreds of city public meetings were televised and or live streamed for the community's benefit, and further generated more than 100 public service announcements to inform residents about city services and programs. And whereas Alan's advocacy of public access television proficiency in customer service and industry awareness were a valuable resource for the city and its PEG user community. And whereas Alan will retire on August the 18th, 2022, the City of Santa Maria Council wishes to recognize Alan for his lasting contributions to the community. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the City of Santa Maria as follows. Alan Sutterfield is hereby recognized and commended for his dedicated service and significant contribution to the Santa Maria community, and we wish him and his family well in all their future endeavors. Passed and adopted at the regular meeting of the City Council in Santa Maria, California on the 16th day of August 2022, signed by Mayor Alice Patino and all of the council members. So I'll meet you at the microphone. Oh, yeah. Madam Mayor, I read this in the form of a motion.
Great. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion to adopt the resolution honoring Alan Sutterfield for his years of service. And any further discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Cordero? Aye. Councilmember Escobedo?
Aye.
Councilmember Soto? Aye. Councilmember Waterfield? Aye. Madam Mayor Patino?
Aye. Okay, now you get to approach the podium and you can speak for as however long you want, Mr. Sutterfield.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you so much for this resolution. I truly appreciate it. It's kind of strange to be on this side of the camera after, I figured, 400 City Council meetings I've covered. Initially in the basement, which was pretty bad, and now we're up in a tower that is such a delight, I can tell you. But, you know, when I first came to the city of Santa Maria to take this job or to interview for it, I'd never been here before, so I didn't know what to expect. But I told myself I wouldn't leave Hawaii unless I could see some mountains from Main Street. And I got here, and sure enough. And then I found out that there's a big rodeo that the city sponsors every year. And I thought, well, this is getting better and better. And the first time I stepped into this building, I was carrying my one-year-old daughter, and she's now a senior at Rigetti High School. So this has been more than just a job to me. It's been our new hometown, and I really appreciate all the support that we've found here. My lovely wife, Barbara, is in the audience. And I'd like to thank, well, former city manager Rick Hayden. He was instrumental in hiring me. Jason Stillwell, of course, and also Mark Vandekamp for the support that they've shown me and Santa Maria Community Television over the past 16 years. So I'm not going anywhere. I live a few blocks away, so you'll see me around the campus now and again. And Madam Mayor, I'll see you at the rodeo.
All right. Which one? Thank you. Mr. Stillwell, did you wish to say something?
Sure, I'd love to, and I'll be brief, and I know Mark Vandekamp's here as communication managers, has some thoughts as well, working closely with Alan, but, you know, just to summarize what's been said, so, yeah, 400 meetings, I mean, he's, and it's been an interesting career, an interesting time to do the work Alan's done, right? So he started out, you know, we would work out a studio out the Muscle Center, and, you know, it was more like cable TV, Wayne's World style almost, right? And it's evolved to where it's PSAs and 10-second snippets and, you know, putting things on live stream and web streaming. And so it's just evolved a lot in this field. And Alan's been able to keep the city council and the city focused at the forefront for our community and for them to understand what you all do and what our city does for the residents. And it's been great, and I thank Alan and Barbara for their service to the community, and Mark has worked very closely with him and has some additional thoughts.
Mr. Vandekamp.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council, and City Manager Stillwell. I am really pleased to celebrate Alan's contributions to the Santa Maria Community Television, a name which he conceived. We are truly fortunate to have this unique and special community resource in an era of media consolidation and the trend of people flocking to social media. Here in Santa Maria, we still have the special resource of community television. In fact, I met Alan 16 years ago on the other side of those doors. I was on his interview panel. And he was our top choice to run the channels. He helped everyone who wanted to make public access television. We know there are people here in the community who have a voice and they want to be heard. We provided them the platform, and Alan was the tip of the spear. Alan listened, Alan trained others. He was pretty much hands-off with the content, but very hands-on with the support. He helped all of us here at the city communicate with our residents. And for our viewing audience, I want them to know that Alan was almost always on the other side of the three cameras that are here in the chambers. But he was always here before the meetings, checking the cameras and the microphones to make sure they worked. And he was always here up in the tower, before that in the basement, making sure that we had the best quality. Then he would stay after the meeting. Sometimes it was pretty dark. He'd be making sure that he could press the video ready for the next day. I would also like to thank his wife, Barbara, for sharing Alan with us on some of those late nights. Appreciate it. And outside of his career with the city, Alan became very involved with the community. As he's mentioned, he wanted to see the view of the mountains. He's a rodeo fan. He also is a director and an actor in the local community theater, and he does a great Teddy Roosevelt. So if you ever get the chance to see Alan in the theater doing Teddy Roosevelt or any of his other myriad of characters, do not miss out. And in the spirit of giving everyone a voice, thank you so much, Alan. See you around.
And I personally would like to thank you, Alan, because I don't know how many times I sat here and you were there with your camera doing the PSAs I had to do, and when I would miss a word or say too long, and I'd have to do it over and over and over, and I thank you for your patience. It's very important. Men usually aren't that patient with women. Okay, our next order of business is a proclamation, and Councilmember Escobedo will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This proclamation is celebrating National Library Card Sign-Up Month. Whereas Library Card Sign-Up Month was created in 1987 as a national campaign sponsored by the American Library Association, the National Commission of Libraries and Information Science, and libraries around the country to emphasize the importance of library cards to a children's education. And whereas libraries play a crucial role in the education and development of children, offering a variety of programs to spark creativity and stimulate an interest in reading and learning. And whereas libraries provide a learning environment that fosters joyful exploration and encourage residents to research subjects they are curious about. And whereas library cards provide residents opportunities to connect to resources and information which will possibly impact their quality of life. And whereas a library card empowers all people to pursue their dreams, explore new passions and interests, and find their voice. And whereas the Santa Maria Public Library encourages community members to take advantage of the library's many resources, print and electronic materials, database, especially curated programming and free services to support early literacy skills and continuing educational support. Now, therefore, Alice M. Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby proclaims September 2022 as Library Card Sign-Up Month. And here to accept this proclamation, we have the interim Library Director, Don Jackson.
Ancestry, job assistance, and free online courses through Coursera. We have special collections. Our Library of Things is really exciting. We offer items like musical instruments, sports equipment, telescopes, metal detectors, and technology items that you can take home to try. We have Vox recorded books that allow kids and caregivers to read aloud together in a variety of languages, and circulating technology collections such as mobile hotspots, laptops, and learning tablets that keep our community connected. And add to this exciting programming, physical books and materials, passport service, veteran services, and more. And it's easy to see how the library can save community members hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per year. But even more valuable is these library resources help all community members grow, find their voices, and thrive in our city. At the Bookmobile's visit to National Night Out recently, we heard this from a patron, and I wanted to share this. We love the library. When I lost my job, I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. And then someone told me about the library and their programs. I took my granddaughter to your programs, and they were the best. So great. It was what I needed. So this September, the library specially invites all community members that do not yet have a free library card to come to your nearest library or begin an application online from home at our website. Our staff is ready to help you discover or rediscover how much your library has for you. So thank you again.
Thank you very much, Dawn.
Also, if I could take just one moment to thank Alan for all of the work he's done for the library over the years. He's promoted a lot of our programs, and we really appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
A few years ago, I was back in DC for a meeting, and I had this woman say to me that the mayor in her town and the librarian in her town had contacted her, and for some reason, my name came up from the city I was from. They said, you need to have the mayor show you the pictures of their library, which I didn't have any on me, okay? But they had seen our library. This was way back in Reading, Pennsylvania. And so, and I've had people on SBCAG, which the different mayors in the county, they go, boy, you really have a nice library and librarian.
It's beautiful, and we are so proud to offer all of the resources that we offer, and we're happy to continue to do that. Just want everybody to be able to take advantage of those, so thank you.
Good, thank you very much. Okay, our next order of business is a presentation of the businesses of the month, and Councilmember Waterfield will be presenting the certificates along with the Chamber CEO Glenn Morris. Good evening, Mr. Morris.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Before I jump in, I have to just say, when my family, my wife and I moved to the community 8 years ago, we brought along a 14-year-old at the time who was probably less than thrilled with Dad's decision to take her away from her friends. Until we drove down Broadway, and she's like, what is that place? And I said, well, it's the city library. She's like, all right. So you helped sell my 14-year-old, and I'm pretty sure the first piece of mail we got after moving into the community was my wife and daughter's library cards. So the library is important in the Morris household as well. Mayor, we are honored to be back again this month as we continue to feature our businesses of the month in partnership with the City Council. As you know, this year we have been focusing on women-owned businesses and local manufacturers. And tonight we're going to continue that theme. I want to begin with our women-owned business, and that is C. Nagy Wines and Tasting Room, owned by Clarissa Nagy. The business was started in 2004, originally as a wholesale sales operation, but expanded in 2014 to include a tasting room. Now, many of you will know that tasting room originally was located in Orchid, which is kind of Santa Maria, but we're very excited to share that in the last couple of years, she has relocated that facility, and they're now within the city limits of Santa Maria. And they have combined the retail shop with the production facility, which has really created kind of a unique destination for our wine industry here in the community. The business has one full-time owner and winemaker and 2 to 3 part-time staff. They're proud of the fact that they were able to keep that part-time staff employed even during the shutdowns during the pandemic recently. Clarissa, who's the owner of the business, is very active in community organizations, including serving as the past president and board member for the Santa Maria Women's Network, and a member of the board for the Community of Prayer organization, which hosts the Day of Prayer celebration each year here in our community. There are also donors, as you can imagine. That seems to be a theme with businesses in our community, that they donate product and services to many of our nonprofit fundraisers in the community to support those as well. So Mayor and members of the council, it's my honor to introduce, representing Nagy Wines and Sea Nagy Tasting Room, her family, Jonathan and Ella Nagy, who are here on her behalf today. So I would like to invite them to join us. Waterford's going to give you a certificate.
Close. Not excited.
A couple comments?
Let's see. So on the behalf of Clarissa, she just wanted to thank you for the honor of being highlighted as a woman in business in our community. It's been a blessing to start and grow my business here, as well as start and grow my family in Santa Maria Valley. My daughter, as we were announcing this, she said, "Wait a minute, you started the business 4 years before I was born?" Yes, daughter, we did. Our community has been such a wonderful place to embrace me, and I look forward to continue to connect and support my fellow small business owners in many different ways. Thank you so much, and thank you for this honor.
Where is the tasting room? What is the address?
It's actually 2717 Aviation Way, and it's by appointment, and it's at the Miller Family Wine Company facilities.
Okay.
What is your daughter's name and what school does she go to?
Gabriella Ella Nagy, and she goes to Orchid Junior High.
It's okay to be just a little bit shy at this point in time.
I am grateful for that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming, Gabriella.
So our second business this evening is our local manufacturer. And when we started this partnership with the City Council, one of our goals was to use this opportunity each month to highlight unique businesses or businesses in our community that maybe people have heard the name, but they don't always know what they do or those kinds of things. I think Nagy's Wine's a great example, as is this next business, which is Santa Maria Tool. While it's a smaller employer, I think they employ 6 to 8 local people. It is a family-owned business that has been operating in Santa Maria since 1937. Wow. And I think that in and of itself is incredibly noteworthy. Santa Maria Tool rebuilds equipment and repairs equipment for many of the industries which make our community thrive, including the oil fields, our farming, mining, manufacturing, food production, fishing, transportation, and maintenance. So again, while they may not be a household name, they are integrally involved in such a wide variety of the industries that really drive our community. The company offers in-facility repairs for equipment and tools. They offer millwork and lathe work, and in addition, they actually machine or make custom parts for these businesses and for the equipment that drive those businesses. Unfortunately, this evening, they were not able to join us tonight, but we will pass on this council's best wishes and make sure that we get another opportunity to congratulate them publicly. So thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Morris, what is the name of the owners of of Santa Maria Tool?
I'm going to find that for you, and we'll let you know. I didn't bring the name with me.
Mr. Morris, what do they do for the fishing industry that you mentioned? Do you know?
So again, it's making and repairing equipment and parts.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So
thank you,
different tools that are used in the processing.
thank you.
So I think it was started by a Mr. Weber.
That sounds familiar, but
Okay.
I'll confirm that and let you
I
know.
just, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay. The next, we have the public comment portion of the agenda. Madam Clerk, could you please read the criteria for the public comment portion?
This time is reserved to accept comments from the public on consent agenda items, closed session items, or matters not otherwise scheduled on the printed agenda this evening. Unless otherwise directed by the mayor, speakers will have 3 minutes to comment. Direction to staff may be given. However, state law does not allow action to be taken on matters not on the printed agenda. Once the public comment period commences, no other speakers will be allowed to submit a request to speak form. And Madam Mayor, before we start, staff received written correspondence from Juan Marquez addressing concerns about vandalism on the west side of the city. And Josh Bingham wrote regarding the Presker and Romer neighborhood watch efforts, speaking with the Santa Maria Police Department, Code Enforcement, City Rangers, and the City Attorney's Office to address theft, vandalism, homelessness, and general beautification of neighborhoods. And Madam Mayor, we have, 4 requests to speak, and at this time, no one has their hands raised in Zoom.
Thank you. Okay, Josh Bingham, followed by Gary Hall, followed by James Wiley. Good evening, Mr. Bingham.
Good evening. How is everybody?
Good.
Mayor Patino and esteemed members of the council, I am here before you today representing a commercial area on the north end of town in the Presker Lane and Romer Way neighborhood. I'm one of the owners of Jack's All American Plumbing, which has been operating in this community for over 30 years. I'm joined here today by a few of our neighbors as well. Our neighborhood is currently experiencing an exceptional amount of theft and vandalism. Buildings and property have been broken into with losses in the tens of thousands of dollars for single events. Whole vehicles are either being stolen or fully abandoned in our area. Businesses are painting over graffiti one day only to be hit the very next day in the exact same spot. We have a constantly evolving population of transients setting up shop in the neighborhood, leaving trash and debris everywhere. The list goes on. As businesses operating in the area, we all write off losses from the thefts and damage. We all spend more and more capital on security and other deterrence measures. We're actively working to form a more cohesive group of businesses in the area to support each other. We've held meetings with officers from the Santa Maria Police Department about the issues. We've been in close contact with Code Enforcement about the issues, etc. We are literally trying as a group to take ownership of our neighborhood and to do everything we can to stop all of this. Ultimately, however, we are tired and feel like we're in Groundhog Day. The hits just keep coming. What is more frustrating is that we are a gateway to the city. There is a sign where you get off the freeway at Broadway going southbound on the 101 that says, "Welcome to Santa Maria." Yet our neighborhood gives the impression of anything but welcome to Santa Maria. We do understand, and please let me be clear, we do understand that these are big, complex issues that Santa Maria is not unique in facing. These are statewide and will take much time and many resources to address. Ultimately, what we're looking for is guidance from this group, our leaders. What is being done? What isn't being done and is needed? What can normal citizens and businesses like ourselves help with? We need direction and guidance in regards to these questions because in our lowest moments, we feel that nothing is being done. And when that happens, the negativity and bad ideas start boiling to the surface. In an effort to take at least one actionable step today, we want to close the city easement walkway connecting North Miller to Romer Way, and are requesting this council's assistance in doing so. This walkway is currently between the 2 self-storage facilities owned by iStorage. It is no longer a safe or efficient use of space. The biggest issue is that it has become a thoroughfare for vandals and thieves who are able to quickly move back and forth between neighborhoods, eluding detection from the authorities. Again, we are looking for your guidance here, and so in that respect, we hope you can help us with this request. Thank you. And as a quick aside, Chief Snyder, Officer Matt Jensen has been an incredible resource to us. He has been nothing but professional and very helpful. So just passing that along to you. Thank you.
Mr. Bingham, and what I would like you to, we usually don't say or do anything at public comment, but I think what I would like you to do, if you can set up a meeting, we will have at least 2 council, I certainly will be there, and we can have a second council member there, and then we will have maybe Officer Jensen or whoever Chief Snyder appoints to that, and to meet with all of those businesses over there. I agree, we need a solution. It's very frustrating. I came home, I was coming south, and there was a tent in front of the monument sign. I immediately called the city manager, and I said, please send this to Mr. Gubbins, who is in charge of Caltrans. And because that's Caltrans jurisdiction, and I'm not excusing myself, okay? But I said, he needs to see this. This is what we see. This is what the people of Santa Maria get upset, and they're emailing me, and they're calling me, and rightfully so. Because I'm saying we can't, we're limited because Caltrans has under the bridge, and they have 101 and anything that's under there. I had a meeting with them, 2 months ago? Something like that. There was about 6 of them. Last week, I spoke to another member of Caltrans, and I explained, sure, you clean up under the bridge, and the rest of the transients, the homeless, come over into the river and into your area. That doesn't do us any good. And I said, we clean up, and then they'll go under the bridge. I said, so we need coordination. I've been working on this for how many months now? I think, to me, it's a real simple thing, a coordination between Caltrans. And we're also working with San Luis Obispo County, the sheriffs in San Luis Obispo, flood control, County of Santa Barbara, and we have 6, 7 private property owners on the west side of the bridge. So I would like to be more proactive in this. If you get a group of the business people together, you put the agenda together, and we will be there.
Thank you, Mayor Patino.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Escobedo?
Yeah, thank you. Just a question. You mentioned to close what portion? In what area were you referring?
Yes, thank you. So on Romer Way, they're on the east side of Romer Way at the end, right joining the freeway. There is the iStorage, self-storage facility. They currently own 2 properties, and in coordination with them and a lot of discussions among the other businesses, there is a city easement. Again, this is our understanding. There is a city easement between the 2 properties that it's more of a walkway. It's an allowable walkway between the North Miller to the Romer Way side. And it, as I said, is just kind of a thoroughfare of no good. So that is at least an initial step we would like to request assistance with.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bingham. Gary Hall, followed by James Wiley, followed by Monica Zanesic. Mr. Hall.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Gary Hall. I am a resident of Rancho Buena Vista Mobile Estates at 2135 North Railroad Avenue here in Santa Maria. I represent the North Santa Barbara County Mobile Homeowners Team, or NSBIT. As you know, on June 7th of this year, just 10 weeks ago, this council approved the following motion. Following council discussion and public input on motion, direction was given to staff to work with community members and park owners to examine enhancing the model lease agreement to see if there was room for improvement and to look at alternatives. Thank you again, Council Members Soto, Escobedo, and Cordero for passing this motion. On August 4th, I received an email on behalf of Assistant City Manager Hackelman announcing an August 25 meeting. Our mobile home resident team is unable to attend on that date, and we have requested a reschedule to August 31st or later. In the meantime, we have also asked for a meeting agenda, an invitee list confirmation, and any other available meeting details. Increased affordable housing in Santa Maria remains a goal we all share. On tonight's agenda is an exciting new downtown housing development. It carries many desirable attributes and will undoubtedly provide some relief to the housing shortage. It will be a contributor to the supply-side solution of any supply and demand housing argument. I hope it will also satisfy the affordability criteria. I know that mobile home rent stabilization in Santa Maria would contribute to meeting the affordability objective. I also know fair, beneficial, mandatory, and enforceable mobile home rent stabilization in Santa Maria is achievable if willing and open-minded participants look for positive solutions. It will be a challenge, and I look forward to the challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. James Wiley, followed by Monica Zanasek. I'm probably murdering your name. You got it right. I did? Thank you.
Greetings,
Good
Mayor,
evening.
This is my first time. Please forgive me. I'm shaking in the knees. But you're very warm welcoming. Thank you. It's a hard line effect that has to take place. This has really gone far. However, my reason for showing up, and I'm not sure if it overlaps with the board of supervisors. Harris Grade is in serious. It's a disgrace. I'm appalled, actually, when I go by there and you take time out to look about. Over the many years, and the very obvious, it's not easy you know, and doing it all. But it's a real fire hazard, and all the trash is pathetic. There's like 5 solutions to the idea, but it's labor intense. Or do we just bury it in hard rock and replant? And Napomo has a very good nursery. It's just the beginning of a start to like replantation too, with the bug infestation, the different things that org has to deal with. Another goes to the apartments. I think it's great, and they're trying to push the people away from their ashtray and go outside their door into the commune. Well, they pushing them outside of their apartments, but they're not welcoming them there. And so their litter bugs is polluting our soaking ground. What do you call this? Spreading grounds? Is that correct? West of Blosser. We have all the spreading grounds, a lot of real estate. On that, I'd like to see if we could, forward-looking, that we could introduce rabbit as a stable, sustainable feed line. And turtle. Turtle, see, I don't know if you guys had it in recent, but it is delicious. It's been very long, many years for me, but it came up about cilantro. They had that problem with some fungi or whatever, but they figured it out. So I don't know what the impacts or what that is, or even if it should be just brought in, you know, shipped in like Vegas or anywhere else brings in. For that sustainability. However, there's a lot of real estate out there that doesn't get flooded anymore since the Bradley confluence was resolved, right? It resolved most all the flooding. So there's a whole lot of real estate to do something with. And for the introductory, that's about it. But, cheat weed, seriously, we have a serious cheat weed. It's everywhere. And the only way to combat it is fire. And I understand, and rightly so, the high standard, no fire, but something has to be done. And when you read the Independent, Sun, very good intake and what's being shared, we have to take a strong stand on this. And this is where I think, desalinization, I think we should take a serious look at bringing that back. The solution, though, is that we have to spread it in our soil on top of the cheat weed. And then put gravel to keep the dust.
Thank you, Mr. Wiley. Harris Grade is not in our jurisdiction, but I certainly will let the supervisors know about your concerns. Thank you very much. Monica, I won't pronounce your name again because I don't want to kill it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. I actually brought photos. I'm Mr. Bingham brought up the easement between the iStorage properties. I actually brought photos for you all to look at. I'm just going to play off of what he said, pretty much the same issues. That easement has affected my business directly, not saying they haven't been affected, but, I didn't prep anything, so I'm just kind of talking here. My business has been directly affected by this repeatedly, because not only do I have homeless people moving in, and again, I work for a corporation, so I can't, thank you. I work for the corporation that owns my company, so I can only represent as a community member of Santa Maria, but at this point, I have written a letter to the city at one point within the last couple of years myself. That easement, I was told, needs to be shut down by communication with my CEO or something to that effect, but that needs to be done almost immediately, because that would definitely take care of a lot of the problems. And Caltrans as well. The fence that's along the 101 by my business directly is constantly being cut. They're living in the trees along the freeway lines, and we're constantly having to cover up graffiti and everything. So having all of our businesses be affected, having the money that we have to shell out in protection plans and things like that, it's at this point, it's ridiculous. So I appreciate your time, and thank you for taking the time to address these issues and your continued efforts.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
We will be there. Thank you. Okay, that concludes public comment. Do we have anyone? Nope. Okay, that concludes public comment portion of the agenda. Before we move on, Mr. Stillwell, did you have any comments?
Sure, just briefly, Madam Mayor, just really what you said was what I had intended to say. The only addition, we're happy to meet with them. That's glad that they have been working with us, and we do need to coordinate and work together toward a solution. Assistant City Manager Hackelman will be there as well. He's coordinating homeless throughout the city. Police has a role, but every department really has a role there. And regarding that North Miller Romer Way, that is in the budget that the council just adopted to make improvements there. So we'll have the flexibility to, work with the community to what improvements should go in that spot. And then Chief Schneider is available to meet with the constituents who took the time to be here this evening as well. But, the city's not immune to this as well. We're having our vehicles stolen and gas stolen and catalytic converters stolen. So it's a problem that we as a whole community and government need to work together to resolve.
Well, I think the sad part about it is that we're willing to do something. We just don't have the backup from Sacramento. We don't have the backup from Caltrans to do anything. And their response to me changes almost weekly whenever I talk to them. So, but we'll figure something out, and I will personally lean on them to get something done here in Santa Maria. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, and I would
Yes, Ms.
also like
Waterfield.
to really take a look at closing down that Romer Way easement,
Yeah.
because after you see those pictures, it's a real issue.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Cordero?
I'd be happy to volunteer to attend the
Okay.
meeting with them at the same time that you guys schedule it,
Okay.
if at all possible.
And the sooner the better. Okay, we'll get on this. Thank you very much. Moving on to the consent calendar, Madam Clerk, could you please read item number 3?
Routine items are presented for city council approval without discussion as a single agenda item in order to expedite the meeting. The consent calendar is approved by roll call vote with one motion. These items are discussed only on the request of council members.
Does anyone have items they wish to pull for discussion?
I have none.
None? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar? Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Waterfield. Aye. Councilmember Soto.
Aye.
Councilmember Escobedo.
Aye.
Councilmember Cordero.
Aye.
Madam Mayor Patino.
Aye. Next, we have a regular business item. Madam Clerk, could you please read the title?
The City Council will consider a proposed development project from Vernon Property Group that would include a 5-story mixed-use building with ground floor commercial, residential apartments, and public open spaces as part of the revitalization and redevelopment of the city of Santa Maria's downtown.
Staff report is to be made by Community Development Director, Mr. Ng.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm pleased to bring before you a presentation on the disposition and development agreement between the City of Santa Maria and Vernon Property Group for what we call Lot 3. This is a property in downtown Santa Maria at the southeast corner of Main and Broadway. By way of background, we've been talking about downtown a lot. We have an existing downtown-specific plan that was last updated in 2015. In 2019, we worked on a downtown streetscape plan. As you know, plans, they set in stone a vision, goals, and objectives for what downtown should look like. And there's been a strong desire on the community and of the council to revitalize our downtown. We have some existing uses, but there is a goal and a vision to bring more businesses, bring more entertainment, and create a walkable environment for downtown. And so this is really an exciting opportunity as we've been working with the Vernon Group. This has taken a lot of conversations, collaborations. The Chamber of Commerce has been involved in many discussions from the beginning. So we go back a couple years ago, there's been some discussion about utilizing the city parking lots as an effort to kickstart some development in downtown. You know, we can either wait for change to happen, or we can, in some ways, take the bull by the horn and do something ourselves. And with these discussions with the chamber and with stakeholders, we've identified some opportunities to create change in downtown. And so in 2019, we issued a notice of opportunity just to begin conversations with different stakeholders. This led to a more formal request for proposals. Vernon submitted a proposal. We received 3 others. There were a total of 4 proposals, and this went before the downtown committee, and the downtown committee selected Vernon Group due to the qualifications of their team and also the concept that they have proposed. Since the time of the selection of Vernon, we've been refining the concept proposed for downtown, and we're glad to bring before you their concept. Last but not least, we also went through Surplus Lands Act requirements. This is a state statute that requires cities to notify interested affordable housing developers of surplus land that cities have. And there is an affordable housing component to this, but we've completed these state requirements. And as part of the overall concept plan, there will be affordable housing included in the concept. I have some slides of the overall concept plan, but then also of the plan for Lot 3. This is the latest submittal. This is subject to change, but this is currently the latest iteration. We've been working with Vernon very closely on features that would really make this a true destination for downtown. We understand that for downtown, it's going to be a mix of uses. It's housing, but it's also commercial uses. But beyond housing and commercial uses, it's also the gathering spaces, the plazas, the open spaces. There's an existing heritage walk that connects from Broadway to Pine. This plan enhances the existing heritage walk. It introduces new uses, new housing, new commercial. And there's some evolution from the initial plan, the initial concept, and the current concept. When we were working with Vernon, there was some concern of over-reliance on the parking garage on the west side of Broadway. And so the latest concept includes parking structures, includes more parking that's on-site, that's on the same side as the housing and the commercial that's proposed. And, you know, in many ways, this concept is an achievement in that we're planning for a lot in relatively a small area. And, but this is part of the fun of designing a concept that would reactivate the downtown and making sure that everything fits together. And, you know, usually if you build a parking garage, that's not always necessarily something that's aesthetic, but with good design, you can integrate new restaurants, new open spaces, and still be able to hide the more utilitarian aspects of a parking garage. So a lot of thought was put into this overall concept plan by the Vernon Group, also with their design team over at RRM. And you can see a lot of proposed uses for the west side of Broadway, but also on the east side of Broadway, and which we'll focus in on. And the location for the southeast corner of Main and Broadway, we call Lot 3. This is the area that's located north of the Bank of America. And, even though it's a small site, we're proposing a 5-story mixed-use building, including ground floor commercial, some outdoor dining and plazas on the ground floor, and housing in the upper floors. The approximate square footage of the ground floor commercial is roughly 6,700 square feet. Again, on the perimeter of the building, there'll be some plaza areas. The residential component includes 88 units of apartments, including 50 studios, 28 one-bedroom apartments, and 10 two-bedroom apartments. You can see the outline of the building in this image. What we're also allowing Vernon to do to maximize the opportunity is to build above the existing driveway. So we will grant them an easement to build over the existing driveway so that the building would actually connect to the existing parking garage. This is a floor plan, a concept floor plan layout delineating the apartment units and common hallways. This is actually the next slide shows a rooftop deck, which I think is an exciting feature for this project. This is the rendering provided to us by their design group. Again, this is a design that is not yet set in stone. This still has to go through the entitlement process. What we have before you tonight is a disposition development agreement. And after the agreement, if the agreement is approved, then we would take this through the entitlement process. And the plans will be subject to review by the Downtown Committee, the Planning Commission, and at some point come back to the City Council again. But as a project, today it's the development agreement. But this is a concept elevation that Vernon has provided for us. Ultimately, we hope that it would be a design that would integrate into the fabric of the community, but also be something new and exciting, and would just bring life and energy back into downtown Santa Maria. As part of our negotiations with Vernon, the city set some expectations for design. We wanted to make sure that there were uses that were public serving, community serving, and so the ground floor has been reserved for that. Commercial uses that would be an amenity to the public. There is an existing firefighters memorial at this location. This would be rebuilt, and we would accept public input and on this redesign. There are project incentives as part of this development agreement. Again, this is a joint effort in many ways. And so while the Vernon Group is proposing an exciting concept for us, to make this work, the city is providing some project incentives in return if certain performance standards are met. This includes fee incentives, a 50% waiver on planning, building, growth mitigation fees, 50% refund on the land purchase price, 50% of the cost of public improvements, and also contribution towards infrastructure costs. In total, these incentives add up to about $1.2 million. In addition, the city is offering parking in the adjacent city parking garage. This has tremendous value. If the applicant were to design parking on site, it would make the project virtually impossible, because once you carve out parking spaces on this small lot, you wouldn't have any room to create the commercial use or the residential use. This is staff's recommendation that the City Council adopt a resolution approving the disposition and development agreement between the City of Santa Maria and Vernon Property Group, which includes the sale of surplus land located on the southeast corner of Main Street and Broadway, identified as Lot 3. This concludes staff's presentation. As I mentioned, many departments worked on this. The city manager, the city attorney, the assistant city manager, we're all here available for questions. The applicant is here. We also have representatives from the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Ng? No? Mr. Cordero?
Go ahead, no, okay. Well, I have a few questions about it. One is, what was the final disposition with the fire department? And the fact that it's currently basically a memorial site.
This is something that would require more discussion, and so we expect to really fully engage all the relevant stakeholders so that what's rebuilt is something that would meet the community desires.
Okay. Couple of other things. I'm trying to get close to this because I'm really not in favor of it. To me, it's kind of like trying to put a square peg in a round hole. This is a small park with a parking lot for businesses at the mall, and we want to turn it into a residential facility. And so I think I have this concept of my own that says that, you know, you wake up in the morning and you go outside and you go out into your front yard, and these people are going to wake up and go outside and they're in a parking lot. So I'm having some personal difficulties in trying to understand how to change to that. But I'm not unreceptive to it. I just think that it just doesn't fit. And I guess maybe it's because I'm such an old guy that it doesn't fit, not the matter that it's not a good idea. And I tried to look around a little bit, and I guess that's not an uncommon feeling, that some people suggest that, why are you putting homes in a parking lot? And so I think that it's something that maybe the developers can address and suggest as to how someone in my position can overcome that feeling, because I certainly agree that for all the reasons that you already know, that we should have more and more affordable homes in our community, and having them downtown where people can just walk into the mall is certainly has a lot of advantages to it as well. So I'm trying to understand the concept a little bit better and be more open to it than I think I am right now.
Okay. Madam Mayor, would you like me to address that?
Sure.
So, Councilman Cordero, yeah, this is an exercise in placemaking, and I think while we would love for downtown to simply have the restaurants and the bars and entertainment uses, sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to attract just the commercial uses, just the entertainment uses. Sometimes it requires the additional uses, the residential uses, to help projects pencil out as a whole. In addition, I think design really matters, and it's an understanding that places, in particular downtown, they can evolve over time, and we have a downtown that has evolved over time. If you go back 100 years, it was in a certain pattern, and in the 70s, we had the mall, and over time, businesses have come and gone, and sometimes it's harder to, we've had businesses leave, Sears left, and we're trying to do the things to reignite and to bring new development into the area. And that requires placemaking, it requires good design, it requires a thoughtful concept. And so sometimes it may be difficult to envision something that's new and different beyond what's on the ground today. But Vernon Group and the city, we've had many discussions. We also think back to the goals and objectives of the downtown specific plan. There is a desire for revitalization, and it may be different It would include new housing, but it's going to be a mix. It's going to be a mix, but with the new housing, with good design, we're going to get the restaurants, we're going to get the entertainment destinations, the bars, so on and so forth. So it's a major effort.
Okay. I'm sorry?
Instead of the front yard, they'll go up to the rooftop and check out the sunrise.
You might laugh at that comment, but I think that's the kind of thing that I'm kind of looking for, like, what are they going to do? I mean, when I was a kid, we went out and played basketball and football in the street, and you can't do that in a parking lot. And so I want to grow into it and understand that it's necessary to consider growing into it and being open to the innovative things that you're all talking about. But I've got to settle it in my own mind here in order to make it understandable to me. Now, for tonight's vote, we're approving the concept and whatnot. This is not approving the project itself, is that right?
Just the disposition and development agreement between the City of Santa Maria and Vernon Group. This project would still require entitlements, and that will come at a later date.
Okay.
Mr. Escobedo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Oh, sure, Mr. Escobedo.
Yeah, just I have a question. Thank you, Madam Mayor. About two words that were used, concepts, the revitalization and redevelopment. I've heard about it, but could you explain why this specific language is used?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Councilman Escobedo, the two words redevelopment, and I missed the first one.
Revitalization.
Revitalization. Those two words are used to describe an effort to, to introduce, new development into the downtown. And so revitalization is probably a broader term that really talks about bringing life back into an area, hence the word vital, revitalization. Redevelopment is probably a little more project-specific. We're asking to take an area and introduce a new development onto a certain location.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions, but just going through your description of this whole entire project, I was working on it back in 2015, and we had done so many renderings of what it should look like, what it should be. Everything has just gone by the wayside. This is the first time, and I thank you so much for coming in and showing us that we could really have a great and exciting downtown. And it does take people to come in to do it. So what better way to live and play and work in a small area where things will be happening? I mean, forget that, we always complain about traffic. That would, one of the things would solve a lot of traffic down in that area, that people work and play and live. And so I don't think it will hinder anything that will come to the mall, because the mall will attract its own people. But I think this will bring more people to the mall, because you're going to bring more people to downtown. They're going to be curious. They're going to want to know what's inside the mall. They may have not been inside the mall in a long, long time, and may have not been in downtown. But I think you guys are doing a great job, and I thank you for being so patient with us. And I'm really looking forward to see the first component of something that's really going to just add to the years.
Ms. Soto.
Thank you. And it's not so much a question, but more of a comment that I know that this was it's also part of the downtown specific plan, and it's, like you said, long time coming. And so I'm excited to see where this takes us, and other pieces of the actual development. We'll get to that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, I'm excited to enter into this agreement.
And I guess I want to ask the question, because Mr. Cordero brought it up, but that was my first thought about the firefighters memorial there. Have we spoken to the firefighters about this at all?
We have not. But I
don't think you do that to our firefighters. That really bothers me. Because I am certainly for doing something in the downtown. I mean, you know, like Ms. Waterfield said, we've been doing this for a long time. I just don't think you
Madam Mayor.
just dig something up and,
No,
Yes, Mr.
Madam
Stillwell.
Mayor, no, we have talked to them when we did go through the RFP process and proposed surplusing these lands, going through the Surplus Lands Act. We had talked to the fire department at that point that these were going to be on the list. I think Director Ng's point is now that we have a development agreement and a proposal going forward, if the council approves it, that we'll have more substantive discussions of, so conceptually they understood and we talked to them about it, but now we need to get into the details of what the memorial looks like and what represents the memorial best for our community.
Absolutely, because I remember in this sheet of paper that we were all given, it talked about Exhibit A3, Lot 3 Firefighters Memorial Square, north of B of A site. And so we did discuss that, and that was definitely one of the issues that we were all concerned about, and we thought it was a good idea.
okay, so we have Mr. Ng saying no. We have, yes, we've discussed it. And what came out of the discussion, I guess? Because I don't feel comfortable saying, okay, we're going to scoop up your remains and put you someplace else.
We weren't going to do that.
Yeah, no, and it wasn't, it was not a hard no, it was not, we didn't have a hard roadblock to move forward, and we were able to move forward to this point. And I think the flexibility that the developers are showing to try to honor the memorial and do so in a way that, so one of the issues we had, and I've heard from the council, was that the memorial as it is now is not accessible. It doesn't present the memory of the firefighter in the way that we as a community want it to be, and having more prominence and a place where people can visit it would be better. But we're not presuming that we have that specific answer. It will be a discussion with the stakeholders and the firefighters and how best to do that.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Madam
Mr.
Mayor.
Cordero.
Mr. Ng, do you know why that memorial site is there? Do you know that?
I'm aware of the events that took place.
Okay,
Yes.
that corner is the site of the old Bradley Hotel that burned down sometime before I came here. And the only reason I know about it is because my dad used to stay there when he'd come up and do work here from Santa Barbara. And I worked at the police department with the sister of the fireman that died and lost his life there. So I guess I feel connected to that, and I'm not opposed to moving it. I particularly what Mr. Stillwell is implying is that perhaps we can do a better job of memorializing the situation and do a better job for our fire personnel. The fact that it won't be right at that corner, perhaps, in totality, but there might be something more we can do to make that happen. But I do think that that the men and women at the fire department are certainly deserving of having that finalized, and they should be here tonight, and even to say, we understand, we're waiting to hear. I don't know if the other council people would, but if they just said no, I'd be inclined to vote no, because it means that much to me as a retired first responder. So we need to resolve that and look at that as perhaps a small problem, not an end-all to end-all. So I think that,
Yes,
it's something we need to work with.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Cordero, so yes, just for clarity, there was discussion at the downtown committee level. We did speak with the Vernon Group about the need to have a memorial that's more visible. And so there would be an opportunity to do that, but I certainly hear your comments about the more substantive engagement efforts with the firefighters directly.
Yeah, I just think that certainly we don't want the developers to consider that, well, it's a no because of that. I think that, it's something that we should look at as an issue that we can overcome. We can make it work.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Watson.
As part of the negotiations that were long and arduous and frankly quite cooperative, they did specifically put in the agreement that they would relocate the firefighters and Four Corners Memorial as part of this project. So they have committed to working out an appropriate solution with appropriate visibility in the agreement that is before you.
I understand that, and I am very well aware of that. I understand that. I just thought there was some other discussions going on about, okay. So the applicant is here, and would you like to make any comments?
Are you sure?
And be ready for some questions. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Brad Vernon. Too far from it? There we go. My name is Brad Vernon. I'm here with my brother Brett, and we're very excited about this project. A lot to cover, but what I would like to say, actually, with regard to the firefighters, Brett has had a few meetings with them, and they're very excited to work with us to come up with a new design and something that's more accessible. So I know that Mr. Ng was not part of that, but we've actually made some really positive steps, and they're ready to come to the table and come up with something fun. And so we're excited to do that as well. So that'll be a big part of this, and I think we want to respect that and make sure that it's something special when we're done with it. And we feel it will be.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
I would love to answer any questions, but I'd also be happy to comment on a couple concerns that I heard.
Go right ahead.
Councilmember Cordero, you're bringing up the concern about somebody living in a parking lot. I had the same exact concern a couple years ago, and I have since built infill projects on parking lots, and it's very interesting how things have changed and how people, especially in particular younger people, want to live now. It is about placemaking. It is about activating the area, and what people are demanding as they come out of these universities and they come here and they want amenities and they want services around them, and that's key. Where we want to get the housing where those amenities and those services are. For example, they may not go and spend time in their backyard or on their porch, but they're going to have a coffee shop. They're going to have roof decks where they can meet and hang out with their neighbors and all that. And so it actually creates a stronger sense of community in some regard. So it is a very interesting change. It's being kind of bold and thinking out of the box to get your arms around those ideas. RRM is an incredible design group, as I'm sure you all know. They helped write the downtown design guidelines for the city, and a lot of what we're doing is very consistent with that design. And it's something different. There's no doubt about it. So it does take a little bit of a leap of faith. I can point to some of the projects that we did over in Orchid. We built the largest building in the county, and it was an interior corridor served building. And no question, we were very nervous building that kind of structure where there's not really any outdoor space for the individuals, but there's outdoor space, roof decks, bocce courts, parks that people use as a community. And it's an incredibly successful community that we've created. So it is a bit of a shift from the typical type of housing, but it's one that, as developers, we've seen that shift happen over the past 10 to 15 years, and there's a huge demand, and it creates very healthy environments for people to live in.
And sir, you can point to successful sites and say, this one here that we did was much like my parking lot, our parking lot here in Santa Maria.
Yes.
And this is what you developed it into. You have that information that we can look at?
Absolutely. We have done
Good.
those. I think taking it a step further, there are pretty significant what would be the word, like design guidelines or city directives in places such as, I was actually just there yesterday, Walnut Creek. They have been very bold in how they've redeveloped their downtown. And it's all about putting people in that downtown and getting them to engage. And it creates a bubble of safety. It does all of these things that create a newer type of community.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
Let me ask you a question, and if you don't have the answer to it, I'll be glad for you to say you don't have
Sure.
one, but you'll get one.
Yeah.
And let's, for a moment, imagine that your project gets approved and you end up building it. And we have, I forget now, how many is it? How many homes? 88 units, and it's 5 stories high. And it doesn't work. It just doesn't, for whatever reason, our community does not embrace this like we hope that it will, because we all hope, you do, we do.
Yeah.
We would hope that we would embrace it and move forward and say we did a great job. If they don't embrace it, is there a plan set in your mind that, well, if that doesn't work, we'll do this with that building? Because you can't just say, well, King's X didn't do it, so we'll take that building out of there. It's not going to work that way. That building, once we build it, is probably going to be there for a long, long time, in one shape or one form or another. Do you have a plan B kind of thing to say, well, we can turn it into this or turn it into that? Is there anything like that in your mind?
Good question. So if you asked me that question 5 or 7 years ago, I would probably be a little less secure with how I would imagine this project's going to, be successful. To answer you now, I don't have a doubt in my mind that it's not going to be a success. And the reason is because I've built 220 of similar units a couple miles away. We're building another 167 next to the airport right now. I mean, we are all in on this this type of housing. It's been hugely successful. We have waiting lists, 30, 40 people deep on our properties, and there's been a huge demand for this type of housing. Incredibly successful. In particular, if you compare it to the other more conventional multifamily product type, which would be a garden walk-up. It would typically be a 2 or 3 story where you're able to walk to your front door. The feedback we've gotten on these type of projects is they like the security. They like being in those downtown areas where they can walk to get their coffee or whatever, do their shopping or whatever. They like all that about it. And again, it is that younger generation that's pushing for this, but we've had great success with it and huge demand. So I'm 100% confident it'll work.
Well, I like your confident level. Thank you very much.
Any other? I see, retired people liking this kind of thing too. They want to completely downsize. They don't want to take care of a yard, and they want to travel. And I know a lot of people that not living here in Santa Maria that have downsized into something like this, and that's the way they enjoy living.
Yeah.
You can go ahead with any of your presentation that you had. Anything else?
That was about it.
Okay.
I think, an interesting thing that someone had said to me a number of years back, a very, very smart friend of mine, he said, if you don't grow, you die. And he was referring to the downtown of Santa Barbara, which if anybody's been down there recently, it's improving because they changed, they grew. That came out of COVID, but prior to that, the downtown was 40-50% vacant because they were trying to omit housing from that downtown core. They have now shifted their policy, and they're desperately trying to get the developers to now come back in as it's now more difficult with cost and such to develop. And they probably screwed things up for about 20 years. It's going to take that much longer for, the private developers to come in and fix that. Now, the fact that you're doing that here, and you've been working on this since 2015, I think it's excellent the way you're going. And yes, it's bold, and I can absolutely see some of the nervousness and reservation about trying something new. But this is something new. I think if we can understand how it's worked and been successful in other communities, I think that we can see how incredible it's going to be for this community. I mean, it's going to rewrite the face of that downtown area. I mean,
Ms. Waterfield, you had a question?
You set a face saying being bold and thinking outside of the box. Well, the city did that when we tore everything down that was old, and you couldn't put it back together again. We widened Broadway, we added a theater to the mall and stuff, but there's that huge component missing still. And I think that component is something that you can offer us. I truly do, because this housing is for all ages, for all incomes. This is the direction we are going in now, and with Santa Maria growing as it is, we do need to provide the housing. Some people may say, we don't want people in downtown to live down there. It's the way you're building it, people will take care of because it's going to be ownership.
Yeah.
And so they're going to want to take care of what they're spending money on there. So we were just recently in Missoula downtown, same concept. And there were people of all ages walking around and going in and out of little boutiques and bistros and restaurants. And you had Italian restaurants, you had steakhouses, you had, all these different types of stores that just brought in people of all ages. And that was something that I just really noticed, is that it wasn't just a young group, it was young to older group and in between. So if we can do that for Santa Maria, I would be so grateful.
we can.
Okay, great. Well, you got my vote.
I do have a question. Is this set in cement?
No, that's just
And I
paper.
mean figuratively, because I'll tell you, right, I've seen ugly go up in Santa Maria, and I'm not saying this is ugly, but it's not anything I would like, because I would like to see the continuity of like City Hall and carried on. I don't want to see a hodgepodge of buildings in Santa Maria. We have a couple of buildings that I think are really ugly that have gone in Santa Maria, and I won't even mention them, but
But Phallus was your favorite.
they're really ugly, and they're still ugly, and I keep thinking I'll get used to them, and I'm not. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's not set in stone
Good.
or cement. In fact, we have heard a lot of comment back on this particular design that we want to see a bit more of Santa Maria. And I think, again, I'm not an architect, but if I was going to try to put my thumb on that, I heard a lot of talk about doing some more tower elements like the library or some of those key features. So we had really hoped that we were going to have some updated drawings from RRM today, but like everybody's busy.
That's okay. That's okay.
We would have loved to have shared the next iteration, but as we work through the process from here going forward, we'll be looking for a lot of input, and we'll try to make that at least incrementally more towards, I think, what everyone wants. And we'll get there eventually.
Ms. Soto.
I think I heard you mention affordability. Can you talk more about how you plan on making this housing affordable, or at least a percentage affordable for people of low incomes?
Yeah, so, and I may have to refer back, but I think it's 15% affordable is the requirement. Is that accurate?
No, not quite. Madam Mayor, members of the council, there is an affordable component as part of state statutes. There's a couple ways to approach it. If we look at the overall master concept as a whole, you can either have one particular project contain all the affordable units, but the requirement is 25%. So 25% of the units as the state has asked to be affordable.
Great.
So.
Thank you.
entire?
There's an ability to have affordable units for each of the projects, or if you look at it as a whole, perhaps have one of the projects be the affordable housing project.
Is there any way that we can make it more, where it's not just one project, but it's mixed in throughout all of them?
Subject to more discussion.
Okay. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Yeah, I could give a little bit more insight from the design and development side of things. I think everything looks the same regardless, but there are some significant advantages on how we finance affordable projects over market rate. And when you have the inclusionary, it becomes a little bit more difficult to take advantage of those advantages, I guess. So one of the concepts we were looking at is developing individual buildings. Again, they look exactly the same, everything would act the same, but we have better monies to use, significantly better monies to use for building those projects. So that was the intent with shifting it and not having it, affordable, market affordable like that. It all looks the same and acts the same, though.
Any other questions from the council? Mr. Cordero?
More a comment, Madam Mayor. Mr. Vernon, right? Your last name is Vernon? Vernon Brothers? Okay. I certainly think that we should thank you for putting up with our apprehension about making this move. It is different, as you said. And I think on behalf of certainly myself, and I believe on the other members as well, that we look forward to a positive relationship and a business relationship. But some of us that are a bit more senior have to get over that parking lot versus lawn kind of thing that we're just not seeing. And I promise you, I'm going to work very hard at trying to do just that, sir. But your willingness to put up with our questions and understand that we are just concerned is very much appreciated by at least this council person.
Absolutely valid concerns, yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vernon. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak or written correspondence?
Madam Mayor, we do not have any, we received a written communication via email from Jack Owen, and he is asking that the council take into consideration looking and working with the firefighter monument and memorial. He apparently was part of the original plan. So that's the only written communication that I have. And then Glenn Morris also has a request to speak.
Okay, I shouldn't let him use the mic twice tonight. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Morris.
A voice of reason.
Well, I hope so. Mayor, members of the council, Glenn Morris with the Chamber of Commerce. I want to put a little bit of a note on some of the historical context. The presentation tonight started the timeline with the 2015 downtown specific plan. Those of you that have been around a little long remember that was not the first downtown specific plan. It was a redo because an earlier version didn't achieve the city's goals. And I've sat in on a number of the council's goal setting sessions in the time that I've been in Santa Maria, and in each and every one of those, revitalizing downtown has been, if not the number one, it has been one of the top two goals that your council has established. Shortly after that specific plan was adopted, we went to work to try to figure out how we could help you make that a reality. And in working with your staff and the community leadership, identified this opportunity where the city had some significant advantages that they could bring to the conversation as potential attractions to developers. And that was the land that you own at and around the four corners of the city. And the willingness on the part of the city to entertain putting those pieces of property on the table as attractors to the private sector is the reason we're here tonight. And so you're to be applauded for you know, Councilmember Cordero and Councilmember Waterfield, we talked about getting outside the box. That was a moment where the council very much stepped outside of a traditional approach. And we applaud you for that. That was not an easy decision at that point. And there will be other decisions that are going to take some work to get through. What I can promise you is we're going to be there to help facilitate that. I think you've chosen a development partner who is committed to our community. They talked briefly about the number of projects in and around our city that they're involved in. I think we're very close to convincing them that they're just going to move their corporate offices to town and become Santa Marians themselves. So, I think you've got a partner here who's willing to listen, to make changes. They've spent a year plus working with your staff, making changes from what we initially had kind of asked for in that RFP process. And the fact that they're still here tonight, taking this first of many steps that will be required to get us to not one building. And that's the other point I think is important to make. What we're really talking about is not a building with 88 housing units and some stores on the ground level. That's the first of what will really be a transformation of our downtown core. And I think that's exciting. I think it's probably a little scary to make sure that we get it right. But for you folks, this is legacy making. This is an opportunity where someday your grandkids are going to be living there, Mike, and they're going to say, way to go, Grandpa. And I would just tell you, I'm glad that they keep talking about younger people, because now I feel younger today. Because they've got a 2-bedroom with a mezzanine up on the 5th floor that I'm going to figure out a way to convince them to condoize that one unit and sell it to me, because I'm there, right? Because you step out of your front door every day and bask in the glory of your front lawn. I step out of mine and think, dang it, I got to mow this thing on Saturday. So I'm ready for what they're offering, and I'm sure that many other people in the community will be too. And finally, Mike, the good news is there's a little bit of time before this is going to come back to you. We're going to encourage Mr. Ng and his team to make that as short as we can make it. But in that interim, I'm going to take you on a couple of tours. We're going to go walk through some of these kind of units.
All right.
So that you can visualize exactly what we're talking about.
I'm ready to go.
Fair enough.
Bring the Vernons with you. Let's do it.
You got it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. So I'll bring this back to council for discussion and/or a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make
Ms.
a
Waterfield?
motion to adopt a resolution approving the disposition and development agreement between the City of Santa Maria and Vernon Property Group LLC, which includes the sale of surplus land located on the southeast corner of Main Street and Broadway, Lot 3.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, and I won't read the whole thing. No further discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Waterfield?
Aye.
Councilmember Soto?
Aye.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Escobedo?
So before I make my vote, I would like to bring, I think that's everything that has been said. It's great. It looks fantastic. It's just, I'm excited for having a really, as it was mentioned, alive, more vibrant, more stuff in downtown. It's a great community. I love it. However, there's a conflict that I've came across. I mean, looking at the incentive, $1,250,000 as an incentive to the project, it has a conflict inside of me in terms of a couple of meetings ago, we talked about, the importance of taking care of the money for constituents, particularly providing Spanish translation during the city council meeting. And one of the recommendations was like 20,000 is too much. So, I mean, compared to $1,250,000, I think it's so when is too much, when is enough? Like, those parameters are hard to follow. Therefore, I think it is great. It's going to be good. But I think that not allowing 75% of our community to have access to this information, it's just not acceptable from my point of view. So therefore, I say no.
Madam Mayor.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have another regular business item. Madam Clerk, could you please read the title?
The City Council will receive the fourth quarter financial report ending June 30th, 2022.
Staff report is may be made by Director of Finance, Ms. Harvey.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, and the public. Tonight, I will briefly present the quarterly financial report for the fourth quarter ended June 30th, 2022. Although these are not audited numbers and balances will change as normal year-end adjustments are recorded, the report does give a general picture of how the city ended the fiscal year. I will be primarily reviewing the general fund, including Measure U, and the enterprise funds. The beginning general fund balance of $10,071,000 is the unaudited balance as of July 1st, 2021. Through the fourth quarter, revenues exceeded projections because of a one-time $10 million revenue loss allocation allowable under the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA. In addition, key revenues performing better than estimates by about $9.4 million. The revenue loss standard allowance is the most versatile use of ARPA funds and can be used to fund almost any government services. By utilizing these funds for fiscal year 2021-22 general fund expenditures, the city is able to use ongoing revenues such as sales tax and property tax to fund other city needs. Concerning ongoing revenues, sales tax receipts through June are nearly $4.3 million, or 16.1% greater than the fourth quarter last fiscal year. The increase is primarily due to strong growth in fuel in service stations, restaurant and hotels, and autos and transportation categories. Property tax received to date are approximately $1.1 million, or 5% greater than last fiscal year. Most of the gain is derived from increases in assessed values from the Proposition 13 inflation adjustment, transfers of ownership, and recapture of previous reductions due to market value losses under Proposition 8. Through June, TOT receipts are approximately $1 million, or 32% more than last fiscal year, and exceeded estimates by about $1.2 million, or 43.1%. The increase is due to the return of community events such as the Elks Rodeo and car shows, as well as being destination for tourists wanting to make weekend getaways from Los Angeles, San Francisco, and the Bakersfield regions. NHIS revenues earned through June are about $623,000 compared to $723,000 last fiscal year, or about 14% reduction in revenues. Materials received in the fourth quarter came from 6 different projects and generated approximately $135,000 in revenues. The city continues to project a decline in NHIS projects, and with changes in the landfill operations, the NHIS program sunsets at the end of fiscal year 21-22. Permit revenue is at $4.5 million, surpassing projections by 114.3%, or $2.4 million, and is about $1.3 million more than the fourth quarter of last fiscal year. During the fourth quarter, the city issued 122 permits for accessory dwelling units, also known as ADUs, which is still reflective of a higher number of submittals compared to 111 permits of ADUs in the fourth quarter of the prior year. The city also issued permits for the Gateway Mixed Use Project, which includes 18 apartments and ground floor retail commercial located at the northwest corner of Main Street and Broadway. Turning to general fund expenditures, they are more than appropriations by about $16.8 million, or 121%, mainly because of the inclusion of transfers totaling $23.6 million, which represents the amount of general fund revenue over expenditures as of June 30th, 2022. The City Council authorized the total year-end transfer to be split equally between General Capital Reserve Fund, Local Economic Augmentation Fund, or LEAF, and the General Fund Assigned Fund Balance for unfunded pension benefits. Looking at operating expenditures, staffing is under budget by approximately $4 million, or 7.4%, due to vacancies in several operational departments. Contracts and services is under budget by 26.6%, or slightly more than $2.4 million, due to services yet to occur on the multi-year general plan update project, as well as fewer contracts associated with recreation programs, engineering services, labor relations, and information technology. Capital is under budget by 31.8%, or $212,000, primarily due to planned purchases for fire and police departments' equipment being deferred to the next fiscal year. Concerning Measure U, through the fourth quarter, revenues are at 119.8% of budget, or $26.1 million. Expenditures are 89.7% of budget, or $2.3 million under budget. Most of the budget under $1.1 million is in the fire department, and primarily due to incomplete capital projects, including facility improvements, partial funding to replace one pumper engine and two Type 6 engines, and radios and department-specific equipment. The police department is under budget by $375,000 due to vacant positions and delays in making 2 new vehicle purchases. The city attorney's office is under budget because of 3 code enforcement office positions vacancies. The library and recreation and parks are under budget by $126,000 and $415,000 respectively because of the continued COVID-19 restrictions limiting the type and number of programs that were offered, as well as challenges in hiring staff to run those programs. Expenditures in the city manager's office over the costs associated with maintaining the city's mass notification system database. Finance expenditures include the final $106,630 annual levy loan payment to the Solid Waste Collection Fund. And through June, 91% of Measure U expenditures have been spent on public safety, 4% on youth services, and 5% on quality of life. As for the enterprise funds, the water and wastewater fund revenues exceeded expenditures by $11.4 million, which is about the same as last year. Revenues increased 3.8%, or $2.1 million compared to the prior year, chiefly due to higher revenues generated through increases in city council approved water rates and user fees. Expenses are $2.1 million more than last year, primarily due to higher state water and dry water year purchases. Those increases were totaling $3.3 million. Total debt service payments of $4.3 million for certificate of participation and refunding bonds were $300,000 lower than the prior year. The water and wastewater operational expenses are under budget by 12.2%, primarily because of fewer repair and maintenance expenses incurred to date and personnel savings from vacant positions. For the solid waste fund, expenditures exceeded revenues by $4 million primarily because $6.5 million was expended on the landfill liner construction expansion project. Solid waste operational costs are under budget by approximately $3.5 million, or 11.5%. The transit fund fourth quarter revenues were more than expenditures by about $274,000. Fair revenue through the fourth quarter is nearly $682,000, which is about 45% or $213,000 more than adjusted fares earned through the fourth quarter of the prior year. The fare box ratio through June 2022 is 11.6% on the fares, based on the fares received and the operating expenses to date. That concludes my staff report, and I'm available to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Any questions of the council?
I do not.
None? Do you have any, Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak or written communications?
No, Madam Mayor, we do not.
Thank you. If there are no questions or discussion, the report has been received and will be filed. Thank you, Ms. Harvey. The next item will be a report by City Manager, Mr. Stillwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Two brief announcements. First, with the council's action tonight, the meeting of September 6th is canceled. And so the next meeting of the City Council is September 20th. There's a number of items on the consent agenda implementing what the council adopted in the budget, and a public hearing for the CDBG funding priorities for fiscal year 2023-2024. And also, I'd like to announce, as you know, we had a recruitment process to fill our vacant library director position, and I'm pleased to announce that Don Jackson is our new library director. Yay! Just a bit about Dawn. So she is a dedicated librarian, team builder, collaborator with the community, great communicator. She has a master's degree in library and information science. She's worked in Santa Maria for the Santa Maria Library since 2013, coming from Kern County Library. And her focus has been youth services, children programming, overseeing our branch libraries. And as she's been serving as our interim library director, so the City Council has a sense of her vision in the adopted budget, which is steady service, community outreach, collaboration. And so, yes, I'm happy to, please join me again in congratulating Dawn as our city librarian.
Good job.
Thank you. That's it? Okay, oral reports from city council members. Mr. Cordero, you want to start?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have one tonight. I have been recovering.
Thank you. Mr. Escobedo?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Okay. I did the Ben Hayes Show on August 2nd, and on August 3rd, I attended the Dignity Moves meeting, and this meeting is now talking about housing homeless that are in our community, and so we're seeing where we're going to go with that. And we're in talks with Dignity Health and with the county. Attended the Planning Commission meeting on August 8th. Did an SBCAG broadband ad hoc committee, which we're still working on. And I just, Santa Maria is still ahead of all the cities in Santa Barbara County, so, and that's not because I am mayor, that is because the way Santa Maria operates. So thank you, Jeff, very much. And then August 12th, the Project Opioid Public Outreach Committee, and I attended that. So I have signed up on the Project Opioid, on the Outreach Committee and on the Education Committee. So we're getting that formulated so we can do outreach in the city of Santa Maria and also do education in the city of Santa Maria. And that is about it. So tonight I would like to honor a member of an old family in town that we lost a couple of weeks ago, Cheryl Minetti, and the Minettis have given a lot to this community, and she will be missed. She was a quiet person and rather reserved, but kept on the legacy of the farming family and of the rodeo, of the ranching family in our community. Her mother was a wineman, so that's all part of the cattle family and ranching family in our area. And she left us much too young. And the meeting is adjourned.